Welcome to part 2 of Kinship Earth Connections, April 16th, 2022. In part 1, we introduced the Kinship Earth board and team, and we featured our KINS alumni, Stuart Valentine, as our featured influencer, who shared his presentation on the Centered Wealth Tree, an approach that features the primacy of consciousness in greening our economy. In part 2, you'll hear the conversations of influence with KINS Network members and guests. And so please, because we want to hear from as many people as possible, please keep your comments on the brief side, but we'll do our best here. So Pete, there you go.
Yeah, I think the key point in all this is the direct experience of oneness is what facilitates that enlightened self-interest that makes us understand that what's in our best interest is what's in the best interest of everything that we come into contact with. That's how we make the best world possible, and that understanding is key to going beyond greed and this myopic view of what's in our best interest. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Bless you all. Love you all for being here and contributing to this new world. Love this.
Thanks, Pete. So many KINS alumni are in this room. We definitely want to welcome everyone. Stephen, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, it reminds me of my time, my many years of working with the Oglala Sioux tribe, and what I noticed with the medicine man that I studied with, and the traditional indigenous people, not just there, but all over the world. In the Lakota language, when they greet each other from the heart, the traditional Native Americans, and they say, Mitakawe Oyasin. And typically, everybody knows that phrase as all my relations, but actually it means much more than that. The actual literal translation is me, you, all created things are one. And they understand that what they do to themselves and to each other, they do to the earth. They get that. And now it's time to actually help give the indigenous people of the world a voice. And so we have some of our own KINS people doing just that, including Jyoti Ma with the fountain, who's created the World Indigenous Council. So I just want to put a plug in for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have so many exciting presentations coming up, and this is the first, so we want to be able to cross-pollinate, but yes, thank you, Stephen, for sharing that. Mitch, you have your hand up. Mitchell Rabin, who we're going to be doing a plug for his Earth Day event coming up shortly.
Yes, hi, Lauren. Thank you. This is a beautiful gathering. I'm so glad to be here. I'm glad you kind of caught me at the last minute and woke me up there. And Stuart, who I am so fond of, thank you so much for that presentation. It's clear, concise, broad, actually in the direction of infinite, because it's touching on what underlies everything. You put it so well, and that's consciousness and the role of mind in the whole game. And we just sort of forget that and get lost in the externals and don't come home. And I felt that your talk helped to remind us in that beautiful tree that underneath it all, in the soil of ourselves, is the importance of our working with our own mind, its content. And I mean, I love to bring forward the whole idea, something that Lauren and I have talked about at some length, is that rewiring the brain in a way that it can free ourselves from the tendencies of greed and selfishness and move into the space, let's say, I've been calling it lately, enlightened self-interest. That's okay, because that has to do with self-preservation. And then that also means that for any one of us to be preserved, we need to preserve each other and be looking out for each other. And that becomes the biomimetic basis of a real economy. And I just want to remind everybody that sort of beyond Darwin, it's really been clarified through the latest advances in neuropsychology and neuroscience that our way of survival was not survival of the fittest in the typical way of understanding at all. It was actually survival of the kindest. And it's through our cooperation, our bonding, and the release of my favorite hormone, oxytocin, is what allows us to really come together in love through storytelling, through the arts, through communicating as a way of building kinship, if I may use a phrase, Lauren and Susan, that we can really thrive together. And so I just thank you, Lauren, Susan, everyone for putting this together, and Stuart for your beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Speaking to the choir. So yes, I think everybody in this room we're all on the same page with that. And what we're doing here is beginning to find out who's all in the room, what our shared resources are, and how we can continue to connect with one another. We've got, so Mitch has interviewed Susan and Walter, and those videos are on our website. And then I definitely want to refer people to A Better World TV. He's interviewed just about everybody who's anybody in the consciousness movement. So fabulous resource.
Including Stuart, by the way.
Yeah,
I
like
believe it.
2009 or something. Yeah, 10.
It's time for a new one, Stuart.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right. Andy, your hand is up.
Thank you,
Yes, thanks. Yeah, it's been wonderful. Stuart, your presentation was wonderful, and really everything that everybody has said is very powerful. And I just wanted to make just one quick point, just sort of the present moment, the urgency of it is, Sir David King said, the last scientific advisor in the UK, he's just now retired. He said that what we do in the next 2 to 3 years will determine the future of humanity. And as President Biden said, when the last IPC report came out, which is like 2 ago now, he surmised it as saying that the science is clearly telling us that we are nearing a point of no return. So I just want to encourage all of you who are very seriously involved in doing excellent work, that our window of opportunity to avoid this catastrophe we're facing is short, and just encourage us all to just double down.
Could I make a comment on this, please, Andy?
Yes.
Because it raises a super important point in my view about the transformation we all seek, that it's actually not the next 2 or 3 years. It is this moment right now. Right now, what are you giving to life? Are you vested thoroughly in, say, what I would call externalization of attention towards imagined catastrophe? Or are you investing attention into wholeness, love, and co-creating that more beautiful world this moment? Because if it is a field of collective consciousness, to the degree that we have externalized our attention, and look, I'm a product of the same culture we're all in. I'm a pretty classic type A white American privileged male. I've gotten to where I am in large part because of the tools and skills that I've been trained in that are leading humanity straight into the brick wall. And I think one of the key attributes of that is, how do I invest my attention throughout the day? And I watch this. I've had a lot of practice, of course. I've been sitting at this desk for 37 years now. And I've been meditating twice a day for that period of time. And even now, I know when I'm pushing my attention out into reductionist kind of psychology and influence, versus when I speak from a place of wholeness and love and release into the field. So I think one of our cultural rewiring, like Mitchell just described, is every moment of every day paying attention to, where am I sourcing this moment? What am I giving to life? Am I actually giving wholeness and love? Or am I in the projection mode of projecting some imagined future through a reductionist psychological lens? Does that make sense? Can you see the contrast in your own self, how that feels inside? So even though I'm very committed to the changes you've described, I want to be very careful about not feeding the old paradigm of what I call the hungry caterpillar, always trying to fix it through a reductionist type of psychology, and instead emerging into action, again, established in being, established in wholeness, perform action, not established in fear, anxiety, and judgment, perform action, because that's the way I'm trained. That's what's feeding, the crisis that we're concerned about. We must find a way to engage in life, daily life action from wholeness.
And what gives me hope for that is the people in this room. And so many of the people in this room are massively influential leaders in the movement towards the sustainable solutions. And so throughout the course of our engagement series, we're going to get to know some of these people. I'm looking around, I'm seeing Elisa Gravitz, who is the CEO of Green America and is managing so many amazing initiatives. Sharon Joy Kleitch and Doug down in Florida. I don't know who else is here from the Florida 40, hand raise. They have been part of KINS initiatives that are working with government, working with interfaith, working with sustainability leaders. I'm seeing Forrest and Melanie over there. They're going to be joining us in, I believe, August, talking about planetary care. Frank Dixon, we're going to introduce you to. We just did a video interview of him. George and Hank is going to be joining us in June. Hank Patton. So there's so many people. Mark Epstein is going to be joining us in May. So everybody in this room is having an influence. Teresa, she's working with so many different people. The World Systems Solutions. Did I get that right? World System Solutions. So we are weaving our networks together, and so we can have hope that that there are solutions, and by joining together, we're amplifying each other's energy. We're learning what's happening in our community and being able to go where our heart, our love, our energy is flowing. So I want to go to Mark. Your hand is up.
Thanks so much. So I'm new to this community. Perhaps many here are new to each other. I'm not really sure, but I've got, like, right now I feel like a puppy dog that's just in a big, bunch of new other puppies, and I'm jumping around inside with so much energy. I just wanted to introduce myself a bit and talk about two of the projects I'm doing with, try to put a few handles that I'm working on, try to put a few handles out there so people could grab me if they're interested. George's opening thing, the Buckminster Fuller quote, was so fantastic. I was amazed at how it led back very early into the cosmic emergence to mathematics. And part of the reasons that I was excited by that is because I think about how much we need to demystify money and finance. It is mystified. This is the tools of the priests. And part of the theme of the projects I'm working in is bringing financial literacy to the masses and the tools of capitalism to the masses, because I think we can unleash the inner promise of capitalism to deliver opportunity and wealth to everyone and help to create this world our hearts are yearning for. One of my projects that I'm really proud of is working with Indigenous peoples in Zambia, in one of the most highly biodiverse areas remaining on the African continent. I'm working with about 3,000 people, 12 different tribes. We used a process very much like Susan Mora's process. I'm really interested, for those who are process geeks, to talk about our process and how it compares with what Susan has developed with KINS. But we brought together 80 tribal influencers and external stakeholders and created a vision among those tribal people for the world they know is possible in their hearts. And there was such an exciting moment. And then from that group, they broke into activity areas activities they needed to do to accomplish their vision. And from each of those groups, it's created an ecosystem of enterprises, community-owned, business enterprises. And we're using open book management. This is where the finance comes in. Everyone is learning how the money works in the organization. Everybody is learning directly how their personal choices in their organizations affect the quadruple bottom line. How do I personally
Mark, can I pause you for a moment?
Yeah.
That is awesome. And we want to hear more. And I'm just being the timekeeper, and I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Lauren.
Tough
Can I
job.
have a one
Somebody's
other
got to
sentence?
do it. We
One
want
other
to make
sentence.
sure to hear from everybody in the room. And if we give everyone an opportunity to share their pet projects, we will be here until next Tuesday.
I thought I was going
So-
quick, and I guess I wasn't.
I know.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sorry. So
The nature of passion.
So what we're going to do, and so I was going to make this announcement later, but we are about to develop, we are partnering with a platform so that everyone who attends these events will be able to have their own profile, will be able to share projects, will be able to cross collaborate. So in a Zoom session, unfortunately, we don't have the time to do that, but we're so excited, and I'm wagging my tail like a puppy too, because it's like, woo, and that's the vibe of this, right? We are kin. We are all like, we're the choir. We get to now orchestrate together. We want to get to know you. I'm gonna pass it to Frank. Please accept my apologies for and we're just, Frank, go ahead. And then I'm going to jump in with a few announcements, and then we're going to do our closing. And then for those of you who want to stay, I'll be willing to hold the Zoom open for a while afterwards so that we can have some of these conversations. So Frank, please go ahead. And then,
okay, well, thank you, Lauren. Yeah, thank you. It's really great to be here. Thanks for the interview we did together. I really enjoyed doing it with you. You're a fantastic interviewer. You made it very easy for me. I love KINS being part of this wonderful community. I know we're all wanting to create a heaven on earth. It's great to see so many people that I'm friends with on this call here. So I love being part of this community. Stuart, thanks for your presentation. I agreed with everything you said. And we've had great talks about this before too. I think you talked about greenwashing, and for sure there's a lot of greenwashing, but there's also a lot of good work going on with ESG. But the one point I would make is that I think in some ways it might be reaching its limit, because really what we're trying to do with current ESG and sustainability is to solve problems under current systems, when current systems are the root cause of those problems. So we cannot stop harming the environment and society under current economic and political systems, because that's what forces companies to degrade them. It's the root cause. So to fix ESG, I think we have to shift the focus of it to encouraging companies to work for system change and address root causes, use whole system thinking. We don't have a lot of time with all that's going on with Ukraine and everything. I think we've entered a period of rapid change that's happened throughout human history many times before. Our systems are not going to go back to the way they were. We might only have 5 to 10 years. So I think it's important that we don't use incremental approaches. We don't have time for them. We have to look at the end point, say, what does nature tell us society is going to look like sustainably? What are the systemic changes needed to get there? And then engage the corporate and financial sectors in making that happen. So anyway, I love being here and seeing so many friends. And thank you very much, Lauren and Susan, for everything.
Awesome. Thank you, Frank. All right. Kenneth has his hand up. That'll be our last share until I'm going to do a couple of quick announcements, and then we'll come back and I'm going to see how many of us can actually speak our voice into the room. So go ahead, Kenneth. Good to meet you.
Oh, thank you. I feel really honored to be able to speak and just let my voice be heard. I feel like I'm a bridge. I look around and I see myself as one of the younger individuals here in this room, and I just feel immense gratitude for the collective wisdom that's in this space, and how deeply grateful my heart is in this moment, because I feel that, without going into the obvious details, my life has been squeezing me into the role of young elder, and how deeply under-resourced and under-supported I've been just by the nature of the world that we're living in today. And I can feel as I've been on this call, the wisdom that's in this space and the gratitude that my heart feels for being surrounded by what feels like elder consciousness, and how that touches a place inside of me that's been needing to be touched, and just offering my gratitude and sincerity of thank you. And I'm excited to continue to get to know you all and build relationships and be part of this community.
Awesome. Yes, that is
Hey,
part of
Lauren, can I just ask real quick?
Yeah.
How did he hear about us?
Yeah.
I'd like to just know the connection, and would you put your email address in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share my email and my website. And it may have been through Seeds, or it may have been through another organization, UFHD. I can't quite recall in this moment. I think it was through Seeds, though, ultimately. But when I landed on it, it was just like, oh, my language, my people, thank you. Here I am.
Yeah, because I've seen your name before in other locations, and I can't recall where it was. But both Terry Molnar and I are very involved with Seeds. We're both on the Seeds Commons alignment group within the Seeds movement. And there's a lot going on. And as Lauren said, she's going to be highlighting that in the future.
Yes. And Kenneth, thank you, because that is part of our charter here. As we came together, Susan has done the work. She's established this amazing community. And yet being in Vilcabamba for the last 14 years, technology has moved. And then of course, COVID happened. And now instead of meeting in person, we're all learning how to do these virtual meetings. So what an opportunity. So we have this community of elders. We have these experienced solution providers. We have the network of everybody who knows, like, between people here, like George has a document that's 40 some odd pages long with links of all the people that are already developing solutions, and he has the relationships. So this is our opportunity to come together and to find out how it works. We can't do it all in one meeting, but this is one of the pieces of the puzzle. So in keeping with time, though, I have that tough job of being time police here. So I want to do some upcoming announcements. So Mitchell Rabin is co-sponsoring and hosting a Earth Day event on Thursday, April 21st, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Mitch, will you please put the link for that in the chat? And then I want to let people know Bobby Middendorf. She is one of our KINS members who is in the spiritual domain. She is participating in the Stronger Together X virtual peace cafes. These are global peace meditations. They're free. They happen every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific. And Bobby, I don't know if you're able to put the link in the chat to that, but Bobby is going to be leading the meditation on Friday, April 29th. I just attended her recent meditation. It was beautiful. And then coming up, we are pleased and honored to feature Dr. Annalo Smitsman, who is going to be teaching us about architecting the future humans. She has been co-authoring a series of books with Dr. Jean Houston, along with her amazing work. She's co-authored the Seeds Constitution, which is a beautiful piece of work and something that we can wrap our minds around in terms of what do we as a collective, how do we have agreements moving forward? And then we're going to get into the dirt and the earth and permaculture and eco-village pilot projects. On May 10th, Sid Harvey Griffith, who has been leading permatours in the Pacific Northwest, or not in the Pacific Northwest, in the U.S. Northeast, along with Walter Mora and of course Susan, who are building an eco-village restoration project down in Vilcabamba, Ecuador. So we want to cross-pollinate those communities of the younger generation, and how are people actually doing it on the ground. And then Mark and many of the team at Seeds, including Stephen Gomes and Terry Molnar, who are here in this room, and Alex and Joaquim. So they're going to fill us in on what is happening with this Seeds regenerative currency. How do we understand it? How do we wrap our minds around it? How do we get involved so that we can all share that with our communities? And then note that we have a video library that we're building. Among that video library, Mitchell Rabin has interviewed Susan and Walter. You can learn more about that. I recently published an interview I did with Heather Booth, who has some brilliant things to say about how we organize. How do we think about organizing and strategy to make the kind of changes? And then Frank Dixon's brilliant work on system change investing is really important. I highly encourage you to listen to that. There's more coming. I've got interviews with several of the people in this room that I haven't published yet. But what I want to do now is give everybody a chance to say something, share your key takeaway or what it is, a gratitude, an affirmation, whatever it is that you would like to share in the 10 minutes we have left. So let's start with who we haven't heard from yet. So feel free to raise your hand if you have not gone. I want to have your voice. Oh, my beloved, my partner. This is Christian Gorshkov. He and I have been together a little over 10 years now. So you can unmute, and good to hear your voice in the room.
Always good to hear yours, babe. And thank you for all your shares. And it definitely, the Kinship Earth community feeds into my belief that we are all cells in this common organism that we call humanity. And the best I can do is to be the healthiest cell I can be, to influence those cells around me and the health of the entire organism. So I feel like this group is a good structure to enable me to do that. So thank you for creating this. Thank you for fostering this, babe. And thank you all for being here today.
Thanks for
Lauren, two quick in and outs. I just wanted to say, number one, that Lauren and Chris went with us to Finca Sagrada together, and we all saw the miracle of what is happening on Finca Sagrada there that Walter and Susan have created over the last 14 years, a real work of love. And two, I also want to just say that other seeds people here I will look because you were on my other screen. But of course, I need to mention John Love, Sacha, and Mark, who are very instrumental in moving the seeds ecosystem forward, which is a new kind of currency that's regenerational for the earth.
awesome. Thank you. Okay, Sheila.
Hi, so nice to join everybody today, and glad I finally figured out how to get on. I struggled a bit with that. I'm reminded of so many times we're out of cell tower coverage, and we listen and everything breaks up and we're trying to talk to somebody. I was reminded again of today how when we start with the source, when we start with meditation, when we start with that life source, as Stuart talked about, so much more can happen. So much clear communication, so much between us and within us. And I just appreciated being reminded of that today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Forrest and Melanie.
What a joy to be here. Following on what you just said, Sheila, everyone so far, the beautiful, ebullient, bubbling, rising sense of coming together is that delightful field of source that we dance in, that when I'm reminded amidst all the busyness and the scheduling and the that we're all going through, when I keep coming back to that as a grounding through my meditation, through my connections, that space is so incredibly generative. You can't make the stuff up that happens.
Right.
And I'm just so delighted for that. And there you are, Susan, with dear Wayne, a dear friend who just happened in a circuitous way to come be with Susan and Walter right now, so close to my heart. We were with him this morning. You can't even make it up that those things happen. And so to just lean back and trust this beautiful, infinite, creative source that's loving and living through us all. It reminds me of what was shared about how when we lean back into that, all the fear, everything drops away. We are doing this. And so I'm just so grateful to all.
Well, Melanie, I would just say that, in fact, we are all making this stuff up. If the thesis of collective consciousness is correct, every moment of every day matters, and all of it is an input into what we see in our environment. So let's make it up.
Well, and just to add to that a little bit, my journey into this really has been by diving deeply into microorganisms. And I'm reminded as we're thinking about here and what's going on, that each of us is an army of virtually trillions, if we really think of ourselves well as a superorganism. Because in fact, our whole beingness is made up of these microscopic living creatures, each performing their own diverse role within us to allow us to be who we are. And if we really pay attention as we do with that, it goes all the way back to the soil. It goes all the way back to the billions of years of evolution that's allowed us to be here. So if we ever are in that moment where we're thinking that we're just not able to add a lot just in who we are, remember how deeply that we're an entire army larger than the entire planet, just within our own sense of beingness.
How exciting.
Hallelujah.
I'm in. I'm in.
Everybody. Yes. And again, we are clearly coming up on the end, and I'm going to invite everyone to stay. So those of you who have to leave, want to respect, but I'd love to hear everyone's voice. So John and Satya, please. Thank you, Forrest and Melanie.
Yeah, I just want to follow on with Forrest and offer the Sanskrit prayer that the Guru Amma has made so famous. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which translates into, may all the beings who share our realms be contented and happy. May it be so. It's one of those invocations that brings in not only the billions and trillions of cells that we are composed of, but the soil is composed of, and that the world is made up of, but all of those unseen beings that contribute to our world as well.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add to the unseen beings. We're super new to Kinship Earth. We met Susan and Walter at the farm, and I guess 3 words that popped out for me was consciousness, and it reminded me of what the Kogi really believe is important, is the shifting consciousness, which they really shared with us at the finca. And that the work is being done for that, and that's our work. And then the word communion, that it starts with us. And I really love that chart that you put together, Stuart. And so sort of the words communion, consciousness, and the word kin. It's so interesting. Kinship, kindred spirits, kin's networks, and there's something about
kindergarten
of that word that connects us all, and it transcends all time and all cultures and everything, and it just feels so true. So we're new to Kin's Earth and Kinship Earth, but maybe not so new. So thank you so much.
Been at it.
No, because you're part of the extended community, and that's it. Like, we are all drawn together in this collective field because we're meant to be here. We're meant to be working together. So glad that you guys are here. Okay, Mark has his hand up, and then Sharon Joy.
I just wanted to share it where I am in my place in the world, in my farm right now. Things are waking up. And when I can sit on the ground and close my eyes and then open them, and the asparagus is that much higher, and that much higher, and that much higher. You can see how fast the transformation can take place. A blink of an eye, and the asparagus is 6 inches higher. That is what this time is right now. So thanks for being here.
Woo! Time of asparagus.
Asparagus.
Sharon Joy.
Hello, everyone. What a treat to see familiar
Wow.
faces and new faces. And although I had to join you late, what I heard from you at the end, Stuart, was absolutely right on, engaging from life, from wholeness, because I've been dealing with the webs and the weavings, and seeing you all here today makes me want to start doing some more weaving, but I'll hold that, waiting for another time and trusting Susan and all of us that the earlier work has been done through the KINS networks. And now we are really ready to be asparagus.
Quote of the day, ready to be asparagus. I love that. Thank you. All right. Sharon Joy. Terry, go ahead.
Yes, the thing that is closest to me, I'm 77 years old now. And Stuart, the thing I want to say to you that what you described is what I call full sphere investing. I tried to get Calvert to promote that strongly 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but couldn't get out of the financial world.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so pleased that you've done it so well. But the main thing I want to bring our attention to is I was at the Earth Day in 1970. And those of us who were there couldn't imagine today where the concern about the environment would be as big as it is today. We just couldn't imagine it. And here it's happened. And the reason I want to point that out is because we are maturing as a species, whether we like it or not. Maturation can't be escaped or stopped. And so we are maturing, and we have we have lots of places we're going to come to, but we are maturing. I was involved with Calvert in the very beginning, and today socially responsible investment has gone mainstream, and the Labor Department has declared that caring about the employees, the community, and the environment are now essential ingredients of a financial decision. It's no longer an alternative investment activity. I mean, these are maturation things that are taking place. They're much slower than we'd like to see. But the last thing I'm going to say is that what a lot of people don't know now is that the most popular theory in fundamental physics is the holographic theory. And the holographic theory is based on the assumption that time and space, the assumption of separate parts, are not real. Well, there's only two ways the universe could be structured, as one thing or as two or more things, separate parts. So by default, we now know from fundamental physics that they agree that the universe operates as an indivisible whole. It's no longer only a spiritual understanding about the reality of life. It's obvious that we couldn't be breathing if the universe wasn't operating as one indivisible whole. But the fundamental physicists are only figured it out recently. But that's maturation, and we're going to have a whole lot happen on top of that. So I just want to appreciate that maturation is taking place. It can't be escaped or stopped.
Beautiful key takeaway. And so in our future sessions, what I'm envisioning is that we're going to have these talking points, these language, bits of nuggets of information, memes, if you will, that we can then disseminate, ripple out to our communities. I'm going to be working with our partners at Open Impact Network, the Open Futures Coalition, so that we're going to have a platform where we can communicate offline. And I can see, just show of hands, who would like to have a session where we can just come and just share? Okay. So we'll add that to the list where we can just come and share what everybody is up to. So now I'd like to invite Teresa and then Hank, and then I think we're going to have to call it. And we have a very special closing for you that Susan and Walter are going to do. So let's hear from Teresa first. Thanks.
Just want to speak into this beautiful space and say how inspired and how much I'm enjoying loving each one of you. It's just beautiful to see and feel your hearts and your wisdom. And this maturation process is really how I see what's happening on planet Earth as we move from adolescence to young adulthood, where we're actually able to be accountable and care for each other and our planet. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, everyone.
So happy to have you here. Thank you, Teresa. And then Hank, what is that you have in your arms?
Bah, bah.
Is that a baby goat?
Good advisors are hard to find.
This is pure Hank Patton. Very well done.
This is Caramel. She was born about 20 hours ago.
Oh.
And she was a very sweet female, a youngster who came out of a marvelous mother, all of whose preceding children were boys. So this is a girl and requires special attention. But they come from behind and will take over the world. You know, I mean, look at Susan. I wanted to quickly say that I think our challenge, Andy's sense of pressure, Stuart's graceful sense of balance and being present to the moment and the best that we can be in the moment. As we think about this world that must change so rapidly, rapid change is not something that markets like a lot. Although people who are good at it do very well in markets. So I think we need to get the science and the spirit into an alliance that makes not doing stupid things more valuable. It takes science to measure the good things that we deliver to the future by stopping bad things. Right now, we're focused on this challenge of competing with systems that are very destructive. So when I have the privilege of doing some more strategy with Susan and George and Lauren and Stephen, as we talk about a June session, what I'd like to leverage is the incredible genius in this group of people and our networks of networks in creating practical ways to measure and market the value that harmlessness, which is spiritual in its human language, but actually completely natural in the way life evolves. How do we make harmless competitive and valuable in the marketplace? And I think we do that by bringing into the market opportunities to invest in the co-benefits that harmlessness delivers to the future. A wind generator delivers avoided carbon, and you can buy that avoided carbon. And that's just a really obvious example. But I think if we can create deals in sizes of 300 million north, which is where global finance would like to go as it seeks to create a market for the great transition. That's going to require science. It's going to require a lot of genius in the world of finance and probably a couple of baby goats.
Well, that's our future yogurt. You bet.
Yes. And, you know, so many of the people in this room actually have are developing some of those ways. So you are right. It is about cross-pollinating our networks so that we can stay connected and support one another. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, we are partnering so that soon we will have a community platform. You'll be able to stay in touch better in between meetings. In the meantime, please connect with us on social media, maybe like us once in a while. We're kind of a newbie organization here. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And now Susan and Walter are going to close us out with a blessing. And they'll be singing the song, and I'm going to invite everyone else to not sing just because on Zoom it just doesn't work real well. But the words are here, and you can sing the song on your own afterwards, and then we'll stay connected. I'll send some follow-up notes after this. So Susan and Walter, take it away.
Hey, okay. We are here. We are here, keepers of the garden. We are here. When, if not now, where, if not here, who, if not you and me? We are here. We are here.
keepers of the garden, we are here.
Woo!
Woo!
Thank you all, kindred spirits, for joining us. Time went by way too fast. We look forward to staying engaged. For those of you who did not have a chance to lend your voice in the room today, please continue to come back to our Kinship Earth Connections events. We'll have more opportunities in the future. We had originally scheduled for once a month. Clearly, we're going to be doing weekly before long because there's just so much to share. Feel free to send me any specific requests or suggestions, and thank you all. And for those of you who want to stay and chit chat for a few minutes, I'll keep the meeting room open for about another 15 minutes. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you for joining Kinship Earth Connections, a valuable platform for evolutionary leaders and heart-centered Earth advocates to share knowledge and best practices, keep our finger on the pulse of emerging sustainable solutions, network with other kindred spirits, synthesize the highlights, and bring the key takeaways back to our circles of influence, creating a positive ripple effect. If you like what you hear, please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to be alerted when we release new videos. And you can join our community and the live events at kinshipearth.org.